So, like I said, there's a couple of stories that slash interviews that came out somewhat recently, and I'm definitely wanting to come here and talk about them. And they might not seem related, but they'll, I feel that they do tie together. And I'm curious to know you guys' general thoughts on this. So, one, I don't know if y'all heard the story. Salute to Black Millionaires page. After careful consideration, the owner of Louis Vuitton, we all know about Louis, selected his 29-year-old son to be the next CEO of their multi-billion-dollar brand, Lawyer Piana. I guess that's the father parent brand or whatever. And then the caption, says, "Think about this next time you want yours to get out the mud." So, man, you guys have French names. Frederick Arnault,
I
Arnault,
know.
one of the Bernard Arnault's five children, is set to take over as CEO of Loro Piana in June, marking his next move within Jesus Christ, the 330 billion LVMH empire. I know Louis is like the high end fashion, but Jesus, that's a couple bills. After leading Louis Vuitton, MH, whatever, watch division for the past year, he'll now oversee the high-end Italian cashmere brand known for their $600 baseball caps, $3,000 sweaters, $10,000 coats. This is all a part of a broader power shift at the Louis Vuitton, whatever, as the next generation of Arnott cements or no, cements their place at the top. Each of the Bernard's five children now holds a key leadership role within the world's largest luxury conglomerate, positioning the family to maintain control for decades to come. So, this is that classic case of like, and it's, the caption kind of alludes to it, that classic case of like, in this world, especially in this country, there is a high emphasis on like, you work hard and you can be the next Bill Gates, the next Jeff Bezos, the next Elon Musk. You can be the owner of international big business, but the I don't want to get ahead of myself. But when you see moves like this, you say, well, "Wait a minute, hold this up." Nepotism in networking, but for the sake of sake, who you know and who you are, what type of circle you're involved in, obviously plays a predominant role in things. And furthermore, it's what's interesting. The reason why I really want to get into a topic like this, because I think one thing we don't really talk about is like we all want to achieve some level of success and be established and pursue our goals and our ambitions. But when we do those things, if we ever get the chance to do those things, the plan and the broader idea is to create something to where your family could live and feed off of it. So it's almost like I don't believe this guy is the original founder of Louis, obviously, but like when you build a business, when you build something that becomes successful, or just in general build an environment, I don't think people's mindset is like, oh, I built this, and then the next guy that randomly, not randomly, but the super hardworking nobody guy from nowhere that did his education, built a scaled up business. I want that guy to take over. People do these things so like their circle can feed off and live off of it. Um, so I don't know. That's something I was thinking about recently. I guess before we get into the Anthony Mackie interview, which again really for me ties into this. Uh, what do y'all think of? Is there a quote unquote right or wrong to that dynamic? Do you think? I mean, at the end of the day, the victory should go to the inner circle nepotism dynamic, or is this? Do you look at this and think it's kind of like messed up? Yeah, I guess we'll start there. Does anyone look at the story and think it's messed up? Start the easy question. What do you think, Ace?
I don't. I don't think it's messed up at all. I think it's perfectly fine.
What about you, Ghost?
Um, yeah.
Um, I wouldn't say that it's good, but it's very understandable. And if I was in this position, I'd probably do the same exact thing.
Yeah, I think we all lean on that. Okay, okay. Seems like we're
Which
on the same page. Okay, pull up the Anthony Mackie interview. You can just So yeah, obviously as we know, Anthony Mackie's, the star of the recent Captain America movie. It's damn near entire career. So he was doing some press a few weeks back or some months back at this point, and he's been addressing quite a few topics, and this was one of the topics he bumped into, pertaining being put in certain positions and the conversation of like your work ethic and relating to your position and what you can achieve.
In the business 24 years, right? And I've seen people go from nothing to the biggest stars in the world. I've seen people go from one role to winning Academy Awards and doing all this shit. And what I realized yesterday thinking about it, we're lying to our kids, dog. And I think that's a big problem in our community. We tell our kids that and this is fresh on my heart. Like I literally just came to this conclusion last night. We tell our kids if they do right and they make the good grades and they go to the programs and they will become successful. If you work hard enough, your work will be paid off. And that's not true. Success is given. It's not earned. Because you can be the most brilliant. If one person don't tap you, each one of y'all, there were people who could hit harder, who could catch better, who could run faster, but somebody said, you're the one. And the other 50 behind you fell off. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And because of that, I don't know what that emotion or that feeling is the scary thing. Because I went to all the programs. I've done Broadway. I've done off-Broadway. I've been in the business 24 years. I've been in 2 Academy Award films. I've done independent films. I've done major motion pictures. Now I'm Captain America. So now what?
Hold up. Limitless. Biggest to me cap.
Also, salute to the Pivot Podcast. They do great. They do a phenomenal job. So yeah, I mean, to be honest, I don't even know if I have to ask anything. That kind of gets right to the crux of like this particular topic, and maybe now you'll kind of see why that Louis Vuitton story kind of ties into this because, you know, not to completely dismiss that young man, the son of the Louis Vuitton owner. Like obviously, being in that world and being in that industry, they're probably well equipped to run. Like they're literally for a number of years was running like the watch division. I think it said, but at the same time, there's probably people that could definitely run a business better than him. But he definitely he was given. So I mean, and like I mentioned before, I think even with that story and with this interview, I think it's probably not going to change for a long time, if ever. The sentiment that keep working hard and you can achieve. But what's y'all take on that general discussion or like topic? Does any of this change your mind, or have you already had this type of perception? What's your general thoughts on the hard work versus things have to be effectively given to a person in order for you to really to make it to some degree? Let's start with what was it? I'll start with you, Ghost.
This doesn't really change my thoughts and perception of how society works. I do think that saying that hard work or that success is given, not earned, is a bit reductive because while it's true to an extent, I think I think in get I don't know if I'd say given is the right term. I'd say that there's a lot of luck and good fortune that is associated with success, and that good fortune and luck can be related to if you were born into a good family or if you caught a lucky break or whatever, tying into the nepotism. But I I do think that at the end of the day, 99% of the time, if you want to be successful, you have to work hard. But if you work hard, that does not guarantee your success at all. And it's kind of a simple way to frame it, but I think saying that it's given, it kind of makes it seem like it's hopeless and that you shouldn't even try, which is kind of a lazy mindset. And I don't think that's what Anthony Mackie was really the point of what he was saying. But I would just caution anyone that feels kind of hopeless about like, I wasn't born into this multi-billion-dollar family that I was just given this position, so I shouldn't even try to be successful. I think if you take that route, that's just giving up and kind of taking the easy way out. But you should also understand that at the end of the day, even with your hard work and success, there's a very low chance of you. I wouldn't say being success. I wouldn't say being successful because there's a lot of different ways you can judge and measure success. And being a multi-billion-dollar millionaire is the upper echelon of pure success when it comes to money that most people are not going to get to. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like it does. There are times I just sit and think, like, damn, if I was born into X family, then uh, I I really wouldn't have had to put in the work that I've had to put in to get to this point now, and my life would be a lot different. But it's you can't really dwell on it too much because if you do, you go crazy. And you can look at it the
Yeah.
flip side. Like if I was born into a really bad, poor situation where I didn't have any support system around me, then where would I be? So there's a balance to it. It's kind of a cheap way. It's kind of a cheap answer to just say don't think about it too much because you're not going to change it. But that might be the if I was giving advice, that might be the advice I give to people because really you can only control so much, and I'd say about maybe 30 to 40% of what you do has a direct impact on your successes, which seems kind of low, but it's better than you doing nothing to further yourself and having zero chance. But a lot of the stuff like where you get it is very luck based and it's very fortune based, but you can do your best to um, be as fortunate as possible by putting yourself in spots where you're able to take advantage of the opportunity, even if you don't know if it's ever going to come. So yeah, it's
Hmm.
like it's kind of a cynical view on the society in general, but that's kind of the way the world is, and that you can do everything right. Like Anthony Mackie was saying, you can put in the hours, you can put in more work than anyone else, but there's going to be someone that worked less than you that's either less talented or more naturally talented without having to put in the work that will get farther than you, that will make more money than you, that will have more success in this world than you. And it's life. It's just kind of luck comes down to luck sometimes.
Hmm. Yeah, that's not bad at all. And to be honest, I think you were able to provide some positivity where in which there was it could look like a very pessimistic outlook. We try to avoid pessimism around here. Although, not although the percentages thing you were bringing up reminds me of the Fort Minor. Remember the name record? What are the percentages? Is 10%
10% luck,
Yeah, like
20%
20%,
skill,
skill,
15%
15%
concentrated power
concentrated
will,
power,
5% paid.
5%.
We all know that damn song. That
it's
song was a
iconic.
banger, bro. That shit was a
It's
banger.
iconic.
Uh,
Um,
one other thing it randomly crossed my mind listening
go
to
ahead.
the first segment. I find it funny that all the people that will be complaining about nepotism and all that and how it's unfair. We'll be the same people that are vehemently against DEI. Just say DEI, and people immediately just flip out without even
Yeah.
understanding what it is and what the point of it is, which is to avoid nepotism in a lot of cases. But I just think that's very funny because nowadays, say DEI once, and people think that I don't know. We all know what DEI is a placeholder for, but there's just an equivalency that people cannot seem to grasp.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And we won't get into the whole thing tonight, but that is a conversation to get to. One, and two, yeah, DI is such a trigger word these days for like no reason at all. It's actually unfathomable. Um, but you know that was well said. And what about you, Ace? The your general thoughts on this conversation. Does this change your mind? Did you ever have any different outlook pertaining to like the conversation of like success or certain things in life having to be given versus the hard work conversation? What are your sorry, it's kind of sporadic, but what are your thoughts, and especially based off what Anthony Mackie said?
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much agree with Ghost. Like, I feel like Anthony Mackie's, it was just like it was too doom and gloom, and not for a, not for a very, not very well justified. Like the things he's talking about, even like I'm assuming the guys he was talking to are athletes. I mean, this
Yeah,
is my fault for not being familiar with the podcast, but yeah. So I mean, yeah, this podcast, but yeah. So you're talking about guys who, I mean, I guess if
I don't
they
know if you,
didn't,
I don't know if you peeped it. Sorry, I really do apologize for interrupting you. When he said that, when he's
yeah,
like, someone had to give it to you, success to you. I kind of feel like they weren't really super rocking with him because
right,
especially if the world in sports, like you do have to put in some of the like hardest grind ever. But
yes, yes, that's pretty much what I'm getting at. It's like, yes, there is that element of you have to. I mean, somebody ultimately has to make the decision on you, especially if it's a thing like it's an athletic career or entertainment career. A lot of that is going to be networking and putting yourself out there, getting your name out there for people to people actually know to choose you. But yeah, like you're not even getting your foot in the door if you didn't put the effort in the first place. Like, and these guys, like these athletes and stuff, more effort than 99% of the population, 99.9% of the population. So they're I, downplaying downplaying that effort leads to success. I don't think that's necessarily the answer. Like it's certainly something that it's a reality that should be part of the discussion about, if you're having this discussion with your kids about just trying to get somewhere in life and make it to the point where you can consider yourself to be successful. Yes, there is going to be that element of you have to get your name out there. Um, you have to network and get to know people, and ultimately, you know, despite your best efforts, um, there may or there yes, it's likely that in some situations you're no matter what you do, like you're not going to get the position. Somebody that you perceive to be less qualified is going to get it. Um, that should be part of the discussion, but at the same time, it should not downplay the fact that you need to put in the effort to even get to the point where you can say, okay, this choice was unfair. Like you have to get there first. You have to get your foot in the door. So yeah, I'm mostly opposed to this standpoint. It's like it's doom and gloom. It's doom and gloom. Like he has such a doom and gloom outlook, and it's almost like, to me, it's like, hey, you're making this a lot seem a lot worse than it really has to be. Like, and especially too, we're
I,
talking about levels of success that, I mean, yeah, sure, everybody wants to be rich, but you can, I think it's much more feasible to get to the point where you can still acknowledge that you're like living a comfortable life and
yeah,
you're somewhat satisfied with your position in life, as opposed to being, the ultimate mega rich that, everybody strive or wants, but very, very, very few achieve.
yeah, I get
Like
that.
he's
And
talking
not to
about,
hyper
oh, I'm at, go ahead.
and not to hyper focus on him, um, in this particular clip, but I guess it's also worth noting he is kind of speaking from that position of like you said, he listed off all his background, quote unquote accolades, like his all the things that he did on his grind up. But it was only like seemingly in this day and age, after 24 years plus, that he was chosen for this big, not breakout role, but his this big main screen role. Like, I mean, so it's like that's why he's kind of trying. That's why it seems like he's imparting like at some point in time, I did all these things, but it had to be that one right director or producer that finally said, "Hey, let's make a movie where he's the star."
Mhm. Yeah.
Um,
And the other thing too is like,
Go
I
ahead.
don't think even even acknowledging that nepotism exists, I don't think that that completely eliminates the validity of, if you work hard enough, you can achieve what you're trying to achieve. Um, because like I don't think anybody should expect for a situation where it's like a Louis Vuitton type thing. I mean, I guess you could in a way like expect that he would pass that to, say, his senior level advisor, right next under him. Maybe the position would be passed on to them. But at the same time, I think that mentality should be applied more so to, like, if if you work hard enough at something that you built from the ground up, that's more so where you can, I think, where you can expect to, as long as you put in enough effort, eventually achieve success. And maybe it's, multiple, or most likely it's going to be multiple, like, business ventures or things like that. But as long as you stick with the grind, I don't think it's an unreasonable thing to expect that you can achieve a level of success that, uh, you know many people don't get to.
But I mean, you acknowledge that like it's probably not uncommon. Sorry, the question was not in them. It's probably common for kids to expect to live off certain fruits of their parents.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. That's true.
So somewhere down the line, someone's gonna feel like they're entitled to something. Like obviously we
Yeah,
can't get into the mind of all these children, the children that are children of big business owners, but
yeah,
I'm assuming there is a certain feeling of like, you know, as long as I showcase the fact that I can follow in their footsteps to a certain extent, I'm gonna get this. There probably
yeah. I
was
mean,
no,
my point is,
there probably was little to no doubt that children don't think they're going to so one day take their parents' inheritances.
yeah, yeah. But my point is more so, it's not like when Anthony Mackie talks about, we're lying to our kids, telling them that if, they strive to achieve success, that they can achieve
That
success.
is a wild take, by the way. That's a hot take.
Yeah, yeah. When he says that, I don't think he's talking about, you know billionaires are lying to their to their children. It's more so like it's the average person, the middle class, like, you're like, I think he's targeting them and saying, you know, people are lying to their kids saying that, you know, you can achieve the success of whatever the upper class, like, you know, upper class wealth, things like this. Um and that I would say no, like if the kid does strive to build something for themselves, if they, you know, if they if they continue in that and they're diligent in that, and you know they're able to weather failures, to, you know, to the point where they, to, yeah, if they're able to weather failures and strive to get that success, I don't think that's an unreasonable um uh like thing to instill in our in children. I
Not
don't
at
think
all.
it's unreasonable.
I don't think well, maybe outside Anthony Mackie. I don't think anyone would. Although I think he would come in and say, "I told you so," when you have a little kid that like worked super hard and for the classic like basketball trial example, like your kid think he worked super hard, he put in those hours. He after his homework every night he would go and practice and shoot, but he didn't make the team. You know, like what do you tell that little kid? And the last spot went to the coach's nephew. Yikes!
Yeah, yeah. I mean that's I think where you have to talk about the reality of the career choice you're deciding on. Like you are limiting yourself if you are going for something like an athletic career where one your I
I
mean
mean,
to some extent this is
I mean
true for most
that could
everything,
that
but
could
That
be
your
applies for
body
yeah that could be a
literally every
yeah
single
no,
job, every
that could apply
single
to any
workday.
industry.
not necessarily. Well, somebody making the NBA is not the same as somebody that somebody working in like tech industry or working in the engineering industry and being able to make something for themselves. Somebody can choose somebody for that. Like the percentage of people that are able to achieve success through sports versus through tech or
Yeah, but
engineering.
yeah, but at that tech firm, the if the owner has a son in the engineering field, he might hold that spot for that son or that child, that nephew or that family or that friendly friend, opposed to somebody that already has the accolades and has the background success story.
This is what
Like
I was saying
it's not.
too. It's more so applicable to building something for you for yourself. So um I don't think you can expect necessarily to be able to work your way up corporate ladder at a particular job because of the potential politics and nepotism and things like that. But making something for yourself, building a business for yourself from the ground up, I think in that realm, yes, like if you strive hard enough, and if you are able to weather potential failures for multiple business or ventures or whatever, I think it it's more likely than not, or even you can't consider anything to be guaranteed, but more likely than that, you will be able to achieve success. I
Increases the
think
odds.
in that way you can you can instill that principle in children.
I think that's a good principle to instill, but I don't really think it's true. It's like
I don't see why not.
every walk of life, like in your example, you're talking about like building something from the ground up, like starting your business or whatever. Like I I don't think that I don't think that what you're saying is really representative of like real life. And the way I say it like that is that there are definitely success stories, and you are more likely than other fields, I will say, to achieve success versus other routes because you're kind of doing it yourself. But at the same time, like for one, like there are still opportunities and like clients people that you're working with, a lot of it is relationship based, and you can get into nepotism that way. But I think that you saying that like more often than not, people will succeed as long as you put in the work and the time. Like, if you don't have a foundation, a monetary foundation, it is very tough for you to succeed without a help from someone else. And a lot of the times, if you don't have parents that are in a position to provide that support for you, then you're going to fail a lot more than people that do have that background, do have those connections kind of established already. Not to say that it can't be done, because it definitely can, but like all these just I'm
I don't
anecdotally
think Ace.
speaking.
I don't think Ace is saying if you start from zero, like literally by yourself in zero, like you just work hard, you're guaranteed to make it. I don't think anyone's saying that. But I think we're trying to like.
Well, I kind of heard it like that, but I might have just been misinterpreting it.
I mean,
But
so we're talking about, first of all, we're talking about principles to instill in children.
yeah, again,
Based
like
on
at the end
Anthony
of the day,
Mackie's
yeah, at the end of the day, I think
statement.
the principle is good to instill, but just speaking realistically, I don't know. I don't
But
know
it's
if
like,
it's really accurate.
what do you mean by
Wait, you wouldn't disagree
speaking
that you wouldn't agree. You wouldn't agree that that type of principle, that type of mentality, just increases the odds of success.
Yeah, I
exactly?
think it definitely does. Like, it's not a bad thing to instill, but I'm just saying,
I mean, I
like,
think it's the thing to instill, to be honest.
there's a
Like,
higher
what else
chance
do you
of
tell them?
yeah, like again, it's just kind of like the lesser of evils type of situation where this is what you're saying is probably the thing to tell your kids, but there's a higher chance of failure than might be implied when you're instilling this message to the
I
kid.
mean, sure, yeah, you can be like, I guess you could be like, okay, there's a 99% chance you're not gonna get to where you want to, but because of that 1% chance, you should strive to. But I
I'm not
mean,
even saying that, like, because that's like really negative. I'm not even saying that you should tell the kids at all that it might not be as easy as you think, but I'm just saying, like, realistically.
but the point is also, it's not going to be easy, like at all. Like I don't think anybody should say it's going to be easy. The point is that you have to strive for it. You're already saying it's not going to be easy, but if you do strive, if you do work through the difficulties, there is more chance that you'll be able to achieve success than than just not trying.
Yeah, yeah, that's like I agree with all that you're saying. This is kind of not even a point for me
I
to
guess the
be negative,
only
but I'm just
level of difference in what you could logically infer onto like a young person, since I think it mainly would be applicable to like a younger person. Would you guys say you would like having this kind of understanding the way the world works? Would you put more emphasis on like staying focused on your grind and doing everything that you need to do to excel in your path, or would you put a high level emphasis on like putting yourself in positions in networking to try to get not under but like to get in the circles of people that would be able to give you those opportunities? Do you think one of those principles kind of matters a bit more?
uh,
What do you think, Ghost?
what I would want to instill on my kids is like the more self-sufficient route. But given the society and world that we live in, the networking might be end up being more effective. But yeah, it's I think the first route is what I would probably instill, even if it's not as successful, just because
Jesus.
I
So for
don't
you,
want to I don't want to have the message that the kids get to be you need someone else to succeed, and you just kind of find that person. That feels like kind of gross to me. Even if it's true, even if it's true, I'd rather say rely on yourself and other people is needed, but yourself primarily. Because I think that will instill better values just from a moral standpoint than a business standpoint. But
Bringing
yeah,
morality into the equation. What about you?
that's a good
Same,
question.
or you would differ?
I mean, I think honestly, it would be a bit of both because, like, to me, this is something I've thought about a lot with myself and my mentality. I was more so I mean, almost 100% the work hard on my own, and as long as I do that, like, I'll get to where I need to be, kind of thing. And I think that was a mistake, particularly in college. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I think you Quest, and maybe Ghost, you as well will be like, this was not the correct move. But I wasn't focused on networking at all. I wasn't too focused on, like, even getting myself out there. Like, I did the career day type thing, but I wasn't that focused on trying to get my name out there. It was more so just, let me just try to do my work and I'll be good. And yeah, I don't think that was. I think I should have put a lot more emphasis and thought into networking and yeah, just trying to make those connections and maintain connections too. So yeah, like, being completely transparent, it would be a bit of both. I mean, I'll probably end up putting a very high emphasis on the networking too, just because of
Mm.
my own experiences.
I totally that totally makes sense to me. And not so much on a for myself, maybe not so much on a like personal sense, but I can definitely relate to that in the sense like yeah, when for whatever reason, and I kind of know some other reason, and in a like college space, like I just didn't necessarily have the mentality of like gather some level of community that I can actually connect with like outside of like once we start to move on. And I
Yeah.
think, and definitely something, I guess something, I mean, I don't like to say I learned this, but that's definitely, I agree 100% in the sense that, like, when I have kids, when I have children, it's definitely going to be a certain, one of the messages I really want to impart is like, when you find, and, I don't really like using good, like using a better word, but when you find like good, hardworking folks that are very down to collaborate, complete missions, just like dependable, reliable people. I think it's very important to stay close to those people to a certain degree, because it can really be a benefit mutually in a lot of cases to you in all facets of life.
Yep.
So that's definitely one thing that I 100% agree with. Um, yeah, all the same. Even though it's definitely I guess a hot take, still generally salute to Anthony Mackie. I think again he's definitely going based off his own experiences, and feel like a lot of people looking on the outside would think, well, it makes sense. I mean, you know, you don't just wake up one day and be Captain America. Like you gotta like be. It makes sense that you might be like play like a side character role and then kind of work your way up depending on like your hard work and your talent and stories. Of course, when you see the stories like the Louis Vuitton story, it might put you in a sense of like, okay, well, at the end of the day, the best high paying successful positions in life are going to go to the kids or the people that know the people that are at the top. One thing I kind of get take walk away is, I mean, and I think we all kind of generally know some of these principles, but you definitely have to instill in young folks that you do have to work hard to get to where you want. But I guess there's not necessarily anything wrong with instilling also one that Having some level of network is important too. And also, I guess depending on the stage in life, 'cause I think that's one of the missing parts. Depending on the stage of life, if it's like a super young kid, you don't have to bump it on something too much negativity. But as they get older and they start experiencing some things I feel like one of the first times a kid like applies to jobs and then they get rejected, that probably is worst conversations of um you have to be realistic about what can happen in this world. I think that's where some of this conversation might come in. Like you might not always get the
Yep.
job just because you were quote unquote qualified for it. Come in.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
But yeah, there's nothing else for now. What this one guy said, Anthony Mackie gave me a bad experience. He slammed the trailer door on my face, trying to meet dude. He's not for the people. Correction, he's not for the me. Is this a random stoner? Or this guy
Stop
really?
crying. Shut up. No one
Jesus.
cares.
So this is a wild anecdote. This guy, I don't know. Anyway, sorry, I'm just reading the comments. If nothing else, we can move on to the next topic.